What's up everybody and welcome back to Blowback Maniac Airsoft. Happy to have you here again. Today I will take you into why this airsoft passion is such a passion for me, a bit about my background, and I will also showcase, I guess, my most realistic airsoft rifle or replica that I have here, which is the VFC M733, if I'm not mistaken, Commando version, which then I pimped out to the max to have almost everything out of steel that would make sense to have in steel, and yeah, some add-ons here, some tuning there, and I will take you into it. All right, a bit about why airsoft in general to me. So airsoft is an amazing game, obviously, full of thrill, full of adrenaline, joy as well, fun, and the fun comes from the fact that obviously we have that action hero moment, that tactical clearing rooms, going with your lads or your friends, and have that immersion as if we are actually engaged in somewhat of an action movie. Airsoft is a game, but for me the realism matters, and I will explain to you why, because there's plenty of airsoft content out there that is mostly focused on quick action, for example, speedsoft in general, or just casual gaming, or whatever it may be. There is content out there for it. For me, the realism matters, and that is partially due to the fact that I come from real steel shooting. I am a Krav Maga instructor, and I also did a couple of classes and seminars on anti-terror and CQB shooting on real firearms. And therefore, for me, the GBB platforms are just the best training tool that combine fun and realism, somewhat offer a chance to train what I learned on real steel firearms in a safe environment and a fun environment. Because I'm saying this not at all to advocate real firearms, not at all. I'm very happy that in Germany, for example, having a real firearm is very, very complicated. If we look over the pond where it's way too easy, I would not want to change. For me, this is why airsoft is such a great outlet for that passion, that interest, without it becoming somewhat of a danger to society. For me, this is the perfect bridge between the theory and the reality. This might be a bit of a dry entry, but if you stuck along till here, I would really recommend hitting that subscribe button, and also check out my other videos where it's more directly into the action. But yeah, today is to give a bit of context as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe and drop a comment as well. That really helps. So yeah, back to the topic. Why GBB? You know, I could have gone with HPA, or I could have gone with AEG. And to be fair, I started with AEG and spring-powered airsoft. And they do have some limitations, just as GBB has. However, GBB offers the bridge, as I mentioned already. You can literally see how the original platform, the real steel platform, operates, because it's so closely copied into some of the GBB models that are out there on the market. Especially VFC does a really good job at mirroring the original parts and how they work. This is why I like VFC in particular. They might not be the best when it comes to performance and accuracy and all of those things, sure, but for someone like me who's very interested in the realism and the manual of arms and all those things, this is the one of the perfect platforms. There's obviously also a Viper Tech, which are horrendously expensive, but they also do a very, very good job at mimicking the real steel parts. So why GBB? It has the recoil impulse, which you don't have with an AEG or an HPA, although there are parts. You have the electric blowback with AEGs, and you have the pneumatic blowback with HPAs as well, but it's not directly linked to a bolt that is moving, which is the next part. You have a moving bolt that literally loads the next BB into your chamber, from where it's then propelled through your barrel. If you look at an AEG, the BBs are already stacked, and you have a little piston that moves forward, but you don't have a bolt that moves, a reciprocating mass that creates the impact in your shoulder. So that's already a big difference. Then you have the manual of arms, which means you have to operate these replicas just as the real steel version. So if you have an empty mag like this one, you would have to insert the mag and you would have to rack the bolt. And if it's empty, it locks back on empty. And then you will have to, either with an extension like I've installed here, or on the other end with your normal bolt catch and bolt release, you would have to drop the bolt again for it to be in action and for you to be able to operate the airsoft rifle. So that's the reload discipline that you have to have. You have limited ammo, so you can't just trigger spam. You're not running around with a magazine with 120 or up to 360 or 400 and above BBs. No, you're working with a real capacity or of like a mil simulation capacity of 30 BBs. In some MPs, for example, the MP9, you're looking at 48, but you get what I'm saying. It is limited, right? So you have to be cautious. You have to make those shots count, right? Then you have a realistic weight. This one, for example, with all the steel parts, if you would have the real version, the real rifle, which I was lucky enough to hold in my hands as well, you're looking at about maybe 500 to 700 grams in difference. That is very close to the real deal. If you take an AEG, you're off by a kilogram easy. Same with the HPAs, because they're more for performance. So you want them lighter, you want them faster, you want the trigger to be as reactive and responsive as it can be. Whereas for GBB, it's really about mimicking that original platform and how it operates. GBB therefore forces you to respect that original platform, whereas AEGs, HPA, they're all great for competition, but they find their way around the limitations of the original platforms to increase your proficiency on the field, let's say, or your efficiency even. And GBB is just different. It hits different, literally. And that's why realism matters in GBB platforms, right? We have seen the pistols. So this one, for example, you know, you have a magazine, you have to insert the magazine, you have to rack your slide. And if it's empty, like in this case, and you, oh, no gas, great. The slide will come back and the slide will stop on empty. And then you would have to, you know, as we saw, or as we know, reload, and then you're back in action. And with an AEP, so an electrical pistol, you also have to reload, but you do not have a slide that moves. Again, you do not have the recoil that is, or the blowback action that is created through that propellant, so in this case green gas or propane. You do not have all of these things, so that kind of chips away on the realism end. However, obviously you do have more of a performance and consistency, which GBB is known to be a bit iffy when it comes to different temperatures, how quickly you spam the trigger. You know, you have cooldown effects, all of those things that make the GBB platform less efficient, less effective, maybe even. But for me, that's not the key point, right? It's not about having the gun that shoots the fastest and furthest. It's more about having something that resembles the real steel platform as closely as possible, while still maintaining an operative standard or level that I can compete with the rest. And if you put a bit of elbow grease and additional parts into your GBBs, you can definitely achieve that. But they come at a different price tag. GBB in general comes at a very different price tag. Yeah, I'm gonna put this aside. So yeah, you have the weight, the balance. You have with pistols, the holster draw. With rifles, you have the sling and how you attach it and how you operate your rifle around your chest rig, and how you put your rifle to the side and then pull out your sidearm. The reloads, the sight picture, the muscle memory in general is very, very close to the real deal. And if we look at this particular rifle here, which is, as I mentioned already, the VFC M733 Commando, which I tuned to be the shortest version possible. And I almost, every part that makes sense to be out of steel in here is out of steel. So those two being a big exception, so lower and upper are not out of steel. But I will walk you through this gun in particular, and also to show you what the parts here resemble, or what they mimic in the real steel version. As I mentioned already, so this here, not steel, not steel, not steel. We can see the original engravings here called, I don't know why it says M16A2. I guess M16A2 is the same version as the M733, but yeah, not sure. I obviously changed a lot of things. It came with the original VFC standard nylon/plastic handguard. However, and this is again where GBB shines, as it is a one-to-one copy in terms of dimensions, you can actually pimp your GBB rifles with real steel parts, like I did on this one. I also have the original handguard, so the nylon handguard from a real rifle that actually has seen combat action. I do like the ability to mount things though, so I went with the quad rail. The charging handle here, not steel, because also the real steel charging handles are not out of steel. But yeah, this is that one. This is also from the real firearm. This has been in combat. Not that that matters, but what matters is that it is compatible. It's a compatible drop-in fit. I didn't have to change anything about this. It was a direct fit, and that for me is a huge add-on in terms of realism again, right? So then if we look at our bolt, this is a full steel bolt. Our breech is also steel, but I think this is regular like this. We have our forward assist, mock forward assist being steel. All the pins, obviously. I have the anti-rotary or anti-rotation pins for the trigger unit installed as well. Trigger, also steel. Second pin as well, steel. This is also on the original, is not steel. This is aluminium. And then I upgraded the barrel to the shorter M4 length, and also from DNA steel together with the front side base, also steel, flash hider, steel. What you need to know, however, with those DNA barrels, they do not come with a normal 14mm counterclockwise threading. They have their own threading, so they only accept the bird cage from DNA as well. But I do have a silencer that luckily attaches right on there, a QD silencer. Then we have a grip that I installed here, and I sawed off to be a shorter grip because it was until here, and I found that way too long, so I chopped it down so it's more of a, not an angled grip, but it gives me this or this if I want to, but mostly I'm running my rifles like this. Then we switch, or we look at the rear. Here we have a Griffin armament stock with a QD attached here on my right hand side, so that the sling goes around and attaches on the other end here in the sling loop in the front, also steel. I think my sling is really cheap though. This is the one thing where I need to invest a bit more money. Here you can see as well the fire control. Oh no, fire control is not steel. I thought it was. Maybe I need to upgrade that. Then we have the mag pull bad lever, which allows you to, as I showed already, but I'll show one more time, if the recoil spring is crazy as well. If the bolt is locked backwards, I do not necessarily have to use my right hand, my left hand now to hit the pedal over here. I can also use my trigger finger and drop the bolt again. For summer, for example, I ran this with the original buffer spring from the original M4 rifle. So actually the green gas is strong enough to use an original buffer spring and still work, even lock back on empty. However, you need strong green gas or black gas, and you need good weather for this. As soon as it cools down a bit, that's no longer possible. You obviously also have the ergonomics, and you can have grip attachments like this one here from Hogue Grips. This is also real steel grip. I really love it because it has these finger grooves, and it's just has a great texture, a bit like the K2 Plus from Magpul. So this rubberized texture, which I really like. And then as you can see here, right now I'm rocking the normal Stanak mag, but you can also use the VMAX, they work, or if you wanted to, you can use the M16 short mag. That also works perfectly fine. And I installed a little padding on the ground because, as I said already, I like to drop my mags because realism, again, the real mags you would drop as well when they're empty. The casings, obviously, if you have bullets left, they go into your dump pouch, or you put them back in your chest rig and replace them with a new one. All right, so you have all those little things that you can do, which you cannot do with an AEG and also not with HPAs, just because the internal system is not built the same way. Yes, you can add grips, but they will not be real steel spec. Yes, you can add your stocks. This could still be real steel spec. However, with the buffer tube being different dimensions, with HPA sometimes, not always, but often enough with AEGs, as they have to fit a battery in there, that might not always work. Right, the rest, some furniture and all that, yes, that might still be compatible, just not as much as with the GBB. On top here, I am running also a real steel optic, my second real steel optics, which is the Primary Arms Cyclops. I really love that optic because it's a one time, so it has no magnification. It's a really, really nice reticle. You have the shake awake kind of function, so you can leave it on. Will never run out. I mean, at some point it will run out of battery, but not because you left it on, because you used it a lot. You have you have all the settings that a real steel red dot, or in this case, prism optic needs. And I really enjoyed. The only thing I still need to get for it is something to protect my lens, but I already found that. I just didn't order it yet. All right, let me take it apart so to show you the internals as well, because they also make up a big part of why GBBs are realistic, more realistic in comparison to AEGs or HPAs. So here we have our bolt. This is the steel bolt. It does have an end pass, if I'm not mistaken. Not sure. Yeah, I think I see I think it has an end pass. I did sand it a little to give it a bit of a used look to go hand in hand with the aesthetics of the rifle itself. This, as I mentioned, is the real steel charging handle from the real firearm, and it's a literal drop-in fit. It hooks just there where it's supposed to hook, and this is again because those bolts are mimicking to a high detail. They're mimicking the real steel bolts. Then if we look on the inside here, we have our V3 trigger unit. So everything inside here is out of steel, which gives us great longevity of all the parts that we need to stay intact. All right. There we go. The only thing, as I mentioned, your controls here, fire control, is not made out of steel. Then in the rear we find our buffer tube, which again is a big difference to AEGs because they don't have such things. The spring is very strong. Oh. There we go. This is the spring that basically pushes your bolt back forward to reload or load the next BB into your hop-up chamber. And also the stronger your spring is, the snappier the action. Obviously, the stronger your spring, the more power it has to push that bolt back forward. Yeah. All right, and then for our hop-up unit, it's not focusing, right, is it? No. Okay, well, then you need to take my word for it. This is a TNT hop-up unit with, I think it's a maple leaf bucking. No, it's a TNT bucking as well. I wanted to upgrade this to the quad. However, this rifle was a bit tricky to work on, and I only managed with the help of Björn from Fitzner Arms or Fitzner Waffen, because I didn't have, and this again, we go to the realism, I didn't have a pin pusher that you would need to remove those pins at the front post in order to take off your front post, to then remove the whole barrel assembly, to then access your hop-up unit, which now with the V3 version is changed. So here with the newer rifles, which hopefully, if that comes to pass, I will have one of the V3 versions very soon. You just need to loosen some grub screws, and then you can access the hop-up unit without even taking off your handguard or barrel assembly as such. So that's a great improvement. Whether the hop-up is an improvement, this is yet to see. All right, as you can see, internally, if you ever seen a real firearm, this looks very much alike. Obviously not to the very detail, but very, very much alike. And this is another factor that I really enjoy, because it has very few moving parts, just like a real steel firearm, because you need to be able to field strip them, work on them. If they stop working in combat, you need to be able to repair it maybe or find the issue. And here again, the manual of arms between GBB and real steel is very, very similar. And if you don't believe me, look it up. There is a Japanese YouTuber called Liku Tactical. I think this is already 6 years ago. He was invited by T-Rex Arms in the US to show how GBB training on GBB platforms translates to real steel firearms. And they were amazed by how incredibly he did and how incredibly fast he learned those nuances between, obviously there are still big differences, right? Between real steel and GBB. However, they all had to agree afterwards that GBB Airsoft is a crazy, efficient and effective way of training real steel firearms manual because it is so similar. Obviously, you still have different recoil and a completely different safety measures that need to be taken, because you're no longer just worrying about your eyes, you're worrying about everything. But nevertheless, it is a great tool to train. Again, I'm not endorsing nor advocating for real firearms here. I'm just simply pointing out similarities between the GBBs and the real steel. Airsoft just allows that passion without real world risk, which is something that I really enjoy. It's a safe outlet without glorifying violence or promoting firearms. It still emphasizes safety, right? All of those sites, they emphasize safety, and it's in controlled environment. It's playful. It has a purpose, it has a goal, it's creating immersion while creating team dynamics. All of those things are what I love about Airsoft, and especially what I love about the GBB world of Airsoft. So my long-term vision basically is to create, here in Hamburg, is to create a CQB environment, mostly because it's easier if it's indoors and you can block out the views from the public, because Germany still has very strict laws. Yeah, create an immersive, realistic CQB environment, bridging something like escape room kind of missions that you have to fulfill with realistic gunplay. And also, I mean, I don't want to give away too much, so let me stop in here, because I do have my patterns, and but I need to find the right people, connect with the right people inside of Hamburg and the Airsoft environment to give this a real go. So if you know someone, locations in the Hamburg area or northern Germany, or you yourself are an avid Airsoft player and you have already a field and you would like to help me develop this concept further, please feel free to reach out via the comments. I do not bite. I'm really interested in creating something like a GBB tribe where we value the realism and the training, and it's that fun that I want to bring forward while bridging that difference of gameplay and realism, but and theory and tactics, and put it all into play. So yeah, share your ideas. If you have if you have context that might be useful for me, feel free to reach out, and then we connect via Discord or whatever. Let me put her back together to run her through the chrono, and yeah, then we see what else we can do. So here we are again. We're using 0.3 BBs. 0.3 BBs. I think I loaded about 10 rounds. As this one might have a bit more jewel, definitely do not forget the goggles. All right, let's see if I can do this. Hold this bad boy in one arm while shooting. Okay, here we go. That's 1.4 joules. 1.474. Oh, that's a drop. 1.178. 1.347. 1.41. 1.32. 1.38, 1.28, 1.29, and 1.29. Okay, that's it. We're empty. Last one was 1.29. So we can see this one has quite some deviation in comparison to my others. That might have many different reasons. For now, we just take it as is. It has quite some punch, but still not too much to be field legal as a rifle. Here are some more shots for you guys to see the recoil, because this baby kicks. Very nice trigger. As we can see, we have a little bit of take here and then breaks. But very predictable, which I like. All right, there you have it, guys. This is the M733 in a very kitted out version with lots of steel parts, lots of real steel parts as well added on to increase that realism. What do you think about realism? Is it important to you in airsoft gameplay whatsoever, or do you simply care about efficiency and performance? Make sure to check out my other videos. I have plenty of content out there now that wants to be seen. Drop a like and a comment. Follow for more. I really appreciate all the support, and I will see you in the next one.